We are recording.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the fourth in our webinar series, where today we're going to talk about e-commerce and what it takes to take your business from a brick and mortar business or just a simple online business into an e-commerce situation. And I have brought my dear friends, Amy and Christine from Harmony Graphic Design. These ladies are amazing. They have a wonderful story, but I'm going to let them talk. So the one quick piece of housekeeping I want to tell you is we're going to put the questions in the chat and we're going to save them for the end. And so without further ado, Amy and Christine, please take it away. Tell us a little bit about you and hit it.
Okay, we're unmuted. Okay, good. Hi, good to see you, meet you. My name's Amy. I had 25 years ago, I got a degree in advertising. I've been doing graphic design and web design ever since. A couple years, I took off to raise when I had a baby. Currently, we mostly do, Harmony Graphic Design does mostly small business websites. And we often do e-commerce websites. We are getting a lot of requests for e-commerce websites right now. So, let me hit this. So that's why we came on to talk about e-commerce. Christine, you want to say a little about yourself too?
Yeah, hi, I'm Christine. I have a background in programming and also stayed home with my children. And when it was time to go back to work, Amy was already building this business. And so I jumped on board and here we are. So we want to help small businesses grow their business in general. And I mean, what better way to do that is to be online and sell online. So go ahead, Amy.
Okay. So we use the term e-commerce, but e-commerce is just any online store. So basically just selling on the internet. Sometimes people don't know that word. So I want to make sure that I clear that up before we start. And then what we're going to talk about today is I feel like every time I set up an e-commerce site for someone, there's a lot of little details to think about. And so we're going to go through and cover all those details briefly. We created a checklist that you can get if you are interested in opening or either starting a new website that's an e-commerce website or taking your website and turning it into an e-commerce website. All the little details are covered in this checklist. So sometimes always a good idea to do some of the research and decisions ahead of time to save yourself some time, and then we know what to work with. There are a lot of ways to accomplish an e-commerce website. The two most popular are Shopify and WooCommerce, and WooCommerce works on WordPress. People have used Square, which is Square, the credit card processing company. They actually have a little thing where you can set up an e-commerce website on there. Wix and Squarespace, you can do it all with those. Those are very limited. I worry about search engine optimization with those. We'll cover search engine optimization in this presentation, so you can understand what we mean by that in a little bit later. We create almost all of our websites for small businesses in WordPress, so we will be talking a lot about WooCommerce, but my checklist of all the things you need it's for anything, really for any e-commerce website. So no matter what you develop it in, you need to make some decisions ahead of time. So that's, so this presentation's for anyone. I'm going to talk just briefly about Shopify and WordPress and what the difference is. A lot of people that want to do it themselves might find it a little bit easier with Shopify, although you can do a WordPress website and WooCommerce you can do that yourself. It takes a little more knowledge possibly, or just a little bit more comfort with just the technical aspect of a website. But then if over time, Shopify actually can become more expensive. So there's some things to weigh there when you're making the decision. Also, they both have really beautiful, you can design a really beautiful website with either one. They both have some really nice templates, a lot of really nice templates with WordPress. WordPress has more, we love WordPress because it has more options. Like there's just so much you can do with it and so many options you can add to it. So, so sometimes I might talk a little bit more about WooCommerce, but overall, these are all things you need to know. And then we'll go into, time permitting, just after you build your WooCommerce or your e-commerce website, like some other things to think about in regards to an e-commerce website. So I'm going to show you. These are all of the different things that I could think of that you need to think about when preparing to build an e-commerce website. The link to my checklist is down there on the bottom left. And
Also in the chat box too.
Oh, Christine put it in the chat box, and then you can ask Sumner for it if you don't get it or whatever and you would like to have it.
We will also be sending this out. We will send out the link at the end of their presentation to everybody registered.
Cool. Thanks, Sarah. All right. So I'll just briefly go over these. Like we could go in depth into some of this. So for time, we'll just briefly touch on these things that we ask our clients to have prepared before we build a website, or if you're doing it yourself, you'll want to know all these answers. The first thing I like to do is analyze your current website. Some things to consider are make sure you have a security certificate. Now those are easy to get. A lot of times you can get them for free through your host, and your host is where your website sits. So Bluehost, DreamHost, SiteGround is one of our favorites. If you use Shopify, they host your website for you, so you don't even have to think about all of that. That's a benefit of Shopify, is that they do all the hosting. They host your domain, which is your www dot, your store address. So anyways, a security certificate is important. How well is your website built to be able for customers to be able to find what they're looking for? This is a side note, but we did a little post on like the five most important things in a website. So let me know if you want me to share that with you. Next is shipping. So our clients have done a million different things as far as shipping. Some clients just want you to pay for your product and pick it up at the store. Some clients want you to pay when you get to the store. Some ship overseas. There's so many different things to think about. What shipping carrier would you like to use? The Postal Service has a really neat plugin for WooCommerce where it's connected with WooCommerce so that you can print your shipping label and pay for it through the post office and just go stick it in the mail. And so there's a lot to research on shipping and figuring out which is the best way to ship your product. We have a small company we worked for that does natural deodorant, and she measured and weighed all of her deodorant bottles, and then WooCommerce tells her what size box to use and knows how much it costs to ship that box. And it's just like, it's streamlined. So it's really nice to have this kind of, that kind of a plugin. Another thing is there's so many different ways to take payments nowadays, and it's always changing. And it's changing the prices, the 2.9%, all these different, it changes all the time. 2.9% plus 30 cents is pretty common, but some people, really want to try to save money in their payment processing fees. So I definitely would research what you would like to do. If you were working with a developer like ourselves, we can we can kind of point you different directions. We can tell you what works with your system, that type of thing. But like I said, it's always changing. They're always adding new payment processing types. And Shopify has, I think that's where extra costs are incurred. So I don't actually use Shopify myself, but I do want to talk about it a little bit because it is really common, and a lot of people that are doing their own stores want to use Shopify. And I would definitely read the fine print on, you know, the extra costs there in credit card processing. Another thing that's really handy is if you have a point of sale system in your store, if you have a lot of inventory and you already have a point of sale system, likely it will sync with WooCommerce. WooCommerce syncs with so many different types of point of sale systems. And then you aren't entering information in two different systems. Your website knows when you have inventory left. Your website can even show, if you choose, you know, there's one left. I think I was buying shoes the other day and it said, one left in your size, you know, so you can choose whether to turn that on or off. So definitely, you know, if you're using a developer, tell them up front what system you're using, make sure that can integrate and save yourself a lot of time, right? Another thing that we're using WooCommerce, when using WooCommerce, this is really great. Now it can automatically add the sales tax. And you may know, if you're business owners, you may already know what, if you're selling to other states, you know, what states you have to charge sales tax in and all of that. But keep that in mind. What products do you need to charge sales tax in? If you're selling large amounts, you know, certain states charge more, you know, charge sales tax over like $200,000, that kind of thing. That's something you'll want to make sure you set up correctly and know what you're doing there. And then, you know, talking about sales tax and shipping, you should choose where you're going to sell. Different countries, different states, you know, different places. Canada, you'll have to, you know, pay the tax. And so that's something to consider when you're deciding where you're selling to, and then what shipping service can you use to ship to those different countries or states. So that you can actually set up your e-commerce system to not sell in places you don't want to. So your store should have a contact for customer service, whether that's email, phone, chat. We can set up chat. That's important for a store, correct? We can set up so that people can review each individual product, and then those reviews show up on your website. Another thing, Christine, we want reviews outside of the website, is that right?
Oh, absolutely. They help for when your clients or customers are on your website, but when people are searching for a certain product or a company that does whatever you're selling, Google reviews help the best, but these also help on your website.
Yeah, so they're right there. People can access them. You know, people love reviews. So hopefully they're good. Another thing Christine always tells me, if you get a bad review, reply right away.
Reply.
Yeah, in a good way. Don't say anything nasty, right? Of course.
Right. It shows that you care. Shows, you know, you're not perfect and people want to see humans, even if it's a bad review.
Yeah, and it looks better for your future clients, I think. So, and then depending, you know, on your amount of product that you're selling, you want to take some pictures, you want to get some good photographs, write the descriptions. If you're using SKUs, get those all together. You can, everything but the photographs, you could do a spreadsheet and import that spreadsheet into WooCommerce. I bet you probably can in Shopify as well, or in some of the other systems. And then also I know with WooCommerce, if you add products, you can also import another spreadsheet and just keep adding products. So that's kind of nice. And think about, I think I talk about this later, but think about who's going to keep that up if you don't have a point of sale system, or if you're going to use WooCommerce or Shopify as that system, as that point of sale system, like who's going to manage your inventory in there, and who's going to add products. And you can add videos too. So if, you know, people love videos, definitely put some videos of your products. If you have some like nice things that need like a 360 view or something, you can add those in there. When we use WooCommerce, we add an additional plugin. That's, if you're doing it yourself, you'll have to know that part, but gather all of that information ahead of time and get that stuff, get your products pulled together. And then choose, like, do you want your customers to be able to register? That makes it quick in the future so that they can order more, so they can purchase more. Yeah, make a quick checkout. So you can choose whether they have to register. You can choose not to register. You can say they have a choice whether to register. So that's a decision to make, to think about. These things can be changed later as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all websites need disclosures now. So what is required is a privacy policy. And that's just an overall website privacy policy is what's required now. Different states, like California has special requirements. Europe has special requirements. There's a bunch of special requirements. But a privacy policy tells people what information you're collecting from them on your website. And that would be, you know, with a store, you're going to be collecting their name and their address and their phone number, and the credit card number. Probably you're not going to be checking. If you use a payment service, that will happen through the payment service. So you won't be holding on to their credit card information most of the time. So that's actually kind of nice to be able to say that. But so the privacy policy is required. You'll want other things as an e-commerce website. There are like terms and conditions of your sale. And what happens with that is when they go to checkout, there'll be a little checkbox that'll say, I have read the terms and conditions. So and then that will just like there'll be a link and they can just go to those terms and conditions and read them. If you have customer registrations, you'll want to say, you want a policy, you know, talking about that, the privacy policy for that. To get information on this, we always recommend, you know, see a lawyer to get them to write it up. If you have a web developer developing your website, they will have more information on what information is being collected from the customer. So your lawyer will want to know that. But there's also online, there are privacy policy generators. And there's a lot of information online about privacy policies. So you really can find a lot of information, and you could develop one yourself. It's your decision. You know, we of course recommend the lawyer, but that's something that you can find information about that.
Yeah, and all this information is available on the checklist. It's
that too.
Accessible too.
Right. And then now I say customer notifications. So there will be like emails that you can set up when their order is complete, when your customer's order is shipped, if the credit card doesn't go through, all these different notifications. So what do you want to say in those? There'll be email notifications, right? So what you want to say in those notifications, kind of think about that. It would be writing those. Tracking information can come through that. So once it ships, you can put the tracking information in that email. There's ways to automatically do that. So deciding, you know, if you want to have tracking and then include that tracking in the emails. With WooCommerce, I know this is when you process the order and when you ship the order, you're going to have to actually manually change it to say that you've processed the order, and it'll send out that you can have it automatically or manually sent, but you'll have to like change change the status, I guess, in the back end to say, and that's probably a good step for you guys, you know, if you're sending products, to know that you did it. And so that would just be, there's different places where you're going to have to go in and do something like that. So those are most of the little things that you'll have to think about, make decisions on, research a lot. You know, there's research on shipping and payments. If, you know, in the future, if you have questions, we have worked with other customers and we know what's worked for different people. So we do know some of this, but it's not like we don't make the decisions for our clients, and you'll probably find that with other people as well. So, but we certainly are available to answer questions about the things that we know about. So once you have that done and you've built your website or had someone build it for you, then you want to think about marketing your website, your products. In WooCommerce, and I bet with Spotify and or Shopify and everything else, you can create coupons, you can create discounts and advertise them on your website, or you can send out the coupons to people, the coupon code to people, discounts like buy 3, get 1 free, you know, you can customize whatever the discounts that you want to give. And so you know, those are different ways to increase business. Some things to think about. I put newsletters, so I'm talking about e-newsletters. There's a way with MailChimp and there's other services like Constant Contact. Someone found MailerLite the other day. That's a pretty good service too, simple. You can check a box. You can have your customers check a box in checkout that says, sign me up for your mailing list. And what we've done is we have that box automatically checked for some of our customers, and they can uncheck it if they don't want to be on your mailing list. But then you can send out newsletters with like coupons or sales, or you get new products, and you can keep your face, your business, your products in front of previous customers, so that they're, you know, they're reminded of your business and what you carry and your new products. And you can sync that, you can integrate that into your website. And then you can put on other places on your website, sign up for my mailing list. Maybe they didn't find what they needed today, but they really like your products, or maybe your products run out and you want to be sign up to notify me that when you get new products. So those are ways of marketing your business, and Christine has more.
Right. Well, another way to market, of course, is social media. I mean, most businesses need to have a social media presence. As much as you like it or don't like it, it works. So there's Google ads and Facebook ads. I mean, Facebook ads is one of the most lowest cost ads out there. If you're launching a new website or launching a new product, you can narrow down the audience to a very specific, age group or interest, or so many different variables for Facebook
Occupation,
ads.
right?
Occupation, right. Yeah. And put that message out there to the people who are going to be more likely to buy your product. When it comes to social media, you kind of want to think about it as like your online party. You have your website, you have your e-commerce website that's ready to go and tells customers what you sell and where to sell it or how to buy it. And then your social media is kind of like your online party. You want to bring people in and have interactions and post pictures and things about your products, but then also things about you personally that they can help connect with. Videos help. I mean, we have a client who, again, we'll go back to the natural deodorant, and some of it's a product that not everybody's kind of familiar with, and so she did a video of her opening up and showing how to use this product, and it helps kind of break the ice on a conversation. And so by the time the customers come in, they feel like they know you a little bit, so that's nice. Another
One thing,
way,
can I jump in? I didn't mention that you can now sell products on Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
So that may work with certain types of businesses. So yeah.
So we're on to the next slide. We'll talk about how to bring more people to your website in addition to social media. Amy mentioned earlier about search engine optimization, which is also known as SEO, and it's a really big word for pieces of a puzzle that bring people to your website. And another way to describe it is when you go into Google and you type in some words, whatever you're looking for, all those websites that are popping up, their websites have been optimized for those search terms. So when you have a certain product, you want to make sure people can find you. And so you want to include some keywords. I mean, obviously the name of the product, but what problem is it solving, right? If I have natural deodorant, there's all sorts of different reasons why I would want that. And you want to make sure that's included in your descriptions, product descriptions, and website copy. And one way to kind of go about figuring out, because sometimes it's hard to guess what keywords people are using, go to your competitors, look at what's on their site and use some of them and use, you want to make sure that if you're a local store, include Puyallup or Sumner or Tacoma, all the different locations, and in addition to the products that you're selling, and include those keywords in your website, in your product descriptions. A little homework for today. Every local store, every local company should be on Google. And one way to do that, here's an example right here of our Harmony Google presence. It's called Google My Business. You basically search Google My Business and you can claim your business or create your business online. And this is one of the most simplest ways to get known on Google results, because you're putting in your hours, you're showing Google that you're a real business, and it helps with optimization. It's one of the pieces to the puzzle.
We had them on last week.
Oh, good.
Cool.
That's right.
Cool.
So the Google My Business video, everybody, if you want to go back and take a look at that is on the City of Sumner website.
Right.
Awesome.
With Amanda Tento, who is amazing, and she knows her stuff when it comes to Google My Business. And then you can add your links to your social media, your website. We add pictures of us going on our kayaking trip. It's just another way for businesses to connect with their clients. And by the time they come into the store or buy something online, they feel connected. And that's the goal, right?
Do you consider that, ladies, the way that you are driving people to buy is by the personality parts of it? Is a social media post getting somebody to an e-commerce cart or a checkout?
I think it helps. Absolutely.
I think people share on social media. They share, things that they like. And so that definitely can drive people to, oh, my friend likes this, I'm going to go look at it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then in addition to Google My Business, you can add you want your link, your website address to be on a couple different things. Google My Business, Yelp. If you have an industry specific website, House comes to mind, but there's many, many more. You just want to make sure you have a profile set up there, because it just shows that you're an active company and you want your website link in so many different places. And you don't have to do it all at once, just baby steps, but.
And they all link back to your store too. So if somebody is on one of those websites and they're looking for a store in their area, they can link back to their store, to your store. Right. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add for website traffic?
No.
Okay.
I think that's good. Yeah.
So we're going to go on to technical considerations.
Yeah. So there were just a few other things that we didn't, or we might have covered a little bit, but when we're building a site in WordPress, we always want to make sure the software stays up to date. So whether that's you doing that, or you have a developer doing that, or you have automatic updating. Nowadays, websites and software people find holes and hack. And so just always keep the software up to date. Always keep your point of sale system up to date. I'm sure that retail businesses know that. The security certificate is very important when you're doing payment processing. And like I said, that's easy to get. If your website has a security certificate, if it has a little lock in the address bar, which is at the top of your screen of your browser window, the www dot is right next to that will be a little lock. We wrote down schema here. There's additional things you can do just to add more information to like the Google search results about your website. And it's just a special coding thing. So if you have like extra, you want more added, you can ask a developer to add schema, or you can learn about schema yourself. Christine is the one that's educated in accessibility and ADA compliance.
Right.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So accessibility just basically means anybody who wants to go to your site can be able to understand what's on it. So if I were blind, do your images have the alt image tags? Are there ways that like a computer reader would be able to go through your website and understand how to buy? So the benefit of having an accessible website is it's also good for SEO and ranking. So it's a win-win because our clients come in all sorts of packages. So, and then site speed. I mean, you go to a website, especially on your phone, and it takes 5 seconds to load. You're going on to the next one. So just being aware of the speed of your site and making sure that it's optimized. And I don't know about Shopify, but definitely WordPress. There's different plugins to help with site speed and such, but any other technical considerations?
No. So we talked about ourselves a little bit. Christine and I are a team, Harmony Graphic and Web Design. I do mostly the design and building of the websites. I do graphic design, logos, etc. And Christine makes them search engine optimized. She works on social media. We're available if you have questions about e-commerce. Shoot us an email. Follow us on Facebook. We'll keep tips on Facebook. And our checklist is on the next page.
Very good.
And there's the address of the checklist. I must have spoken really fast because it's only 12:30.
Well, it's okay.
So I have lots of questions.
A lot of questions to put back to you. We're gonna dialogue a little bit. Can we go back to the checklist slide?
Yes.
There's a few things. Feel free, everybody. This is the moment when you're gonna want to put your questions in the chat too, if you've come up with any. But I have a feeling we're having a little deer in the headlights because if you're not terrified by this list, you really don't get it.
It's huge, isn't it? Sorry.
It is huge. And these lovely ladies do this enough that now this is not so daunting to them. But anybody on this call who hasn't done this before, this is actually quite a daunting process to get through all of this. So in looking at this list, Harmony ladies, tell me which are the things here that are definitely the easiest things for a person to do themselves, and which things on this list are the things that, boy, like you may want that lawyer for your disclosures because there could be you could run into trouble.
So before I tell you the answer, I want to say what I like about making the checklist is just tackle one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by the big picture. I have a son who's autistic, so I have to tell him that, like, one thing at a time, and I think that works for all people. But I think the things that you'll need to do some research on is your shipping methods and your payment, what type of payments you want to take. Now, some people might already have that figured out, and so that's okay too. And then some of these things are just quick, like, oh, I definitely want them to contact me by email. I don't want any phone calls and, you know, that type of thing. That it can be time consuming to enter all of your products. And so I do recommend, if you have a lot of products, to use a spreadsheet to import them. And because it might be easier to copy and to paste into that, and take a lot of photographs. Like you can put like several photographs. I mean, you don't want too many, but people like to see, like on a pair of shoes, for example. I obviously just was shopping for shoes, but they want to see every side of the shoe and the bottom, you know.
With the foot in it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So take some time, get a good photographer, or, you know, get it set up to take the pictures yourself, really nice, and enter and just get all that information accurate. We do recommend with the descriptions, we go back to search engine optimization, use keywords in your descriptions and make all the products unique and, you know, distinct from each other, the descriptions. So that might take some time if you have a lot of products. And you talked about the privacy policy, Sarah. It's not really as scary as it sounds. So I think, you know, all businesses should cover themselves with a lawyer. But once you start researching online, you'll find that a lot of them are very similar, and it's actually not so super scary, the disclosures. So, and I see that you were putting your hand up. So
I am. So let's talk for payments. Let's deep dive on that subject just a little further here. So let's talk brick and mortar shops first. So people who are selling items like soap or candy or dishware. Or antiques. We have a lot of brick and mortar stores in the downtown core.
Oh, yeah.
So they've got a point of sale system already. They've got a physical point of sale system. It's Square, it's something else, and it's sitting in their business. Can they tie that to their e-commerce site?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Most likely. I mean, there might be some systems that don't sync, but for the most part, WooCommerce syncs with a lot of different point of sale service systems.
And again, for everybody's understanding, we're going to say this one more time because I know a lot just happened. WooCommerce means the WordPress section that is e-commerce. It is named WooCommerce.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So it's a software that you use to build on WordPress. Correct. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And so, and it is getting rather robust, people. So when you go to do a WordPress e-commerce, their syncability is pretty good. There are a couple others that are not WordPress that you mentioned in the beginning. Let's remind everybody of that. And then I've got some questions in the chat.
So the other big one, the other most popular one is Shopify. And I would call that one a more do-it-yourself. Although WooCommerce, it can be a do-it-yourself. Shopify, the website is built on Shopify, and it's definitely easier for the do-it-yourselfer.
Okay.
Some other ones that do-it-yourselfers use are like Wix and Squarespace and Square, which is different than Squarespace. Square is the payment processing service, the credit card processing service. You can build e-commerce on that system. And I think it's free if you have a Square account, which is kind of interesting. And
good information.
Yeah, and if you're using Square and you have WooCommerce and you've already been building it on Square, you can sync that with WooCommerce as well. So there's so many different configurations that that I would like, you know, kind of pick what you're looking for or what you already use, and then research what plays well together. Or ask us to, if we're,
ask someone
or whoever you're hiring, right? If you're hiring someone, yeah.
Okay, another good question. So how do you research what states require sales tax at point of sale? Where is that info?
Right now, it's pretty much you collect in your own state.
Okay.
Let's see.
What is the name of that? Tax Cloud, that's it.
That was the one. I'm looking over here at my other monitor. And Tax Jar was another one. Tax Cloud and Tax Jar. And then they also have, you can also get their services and sync Tax Cloud and Tax Jar. We're finding we're not needing that with WooCommerce anymore because WooCommerce has that they now have it. But you can sync, I think it's Tax Cloud, where they automatically pay the states for you so that you don't have to. Things are changing so fast. I'm sorry I don't have this all down, but and every customer needs something different. But I loved how Tax Cloud like automatically paid the client. And then WooCommerce and Tax Cloud, then they all will, you know, you can get reporting so on what you've collected for sales tax as well. And then in general, like some states are charging sales tax if you do over like 200,000 in their state. So smaller businesses don't have to worry about that so much. And then the different countries, they're all different. Most people I've worked for have chosen not to sell to different countries for one reason or another. So, but that, I mean, if you don't want to stop there, then don't, you know, just.
So on that note, that's a good segue to, can you just have Amazon do your store? Do we know about that?
You can, right? You can sell on Amazon. Absolutely. That's something I don't do. You need a speaker on Amazon stores. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with that, but I shop at Amazon, and yes, they have
many stores.
What do they call it? FDA, fulfilled by Amazon, FBA, right?
Yeah, their Amazon Wish or something, but they have a thing that, yeah. So that's another option. There are some people. And Tracy made a comment here. She says, I'm told Amazon takes a big chunk of your profits. They do, but they manage all your logistics, all your returns, all your disclosures. So they take this headache off of your plate in exchange for quite a few dollars. But that for some of the people on here, you may never tackle this list. You may look at it and say, I don't think I can do this. And you may end up going that route and just paying them. And that's another realistic option. But there's also what Amy and Christina have just told you, which is that there are some ways to do it yourself. There are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so Amy and Christine, give us an idea about how many hours would you have to put into tending your e-commerce website if you say had 50 different SKUs that you sold and you were taking care of it yourself?
Well, you're going to be, if you have that many, you're going to be probably have a point of sale system that you're managing your inventory in, correct? And your descriptions and everything can sync, right? Setting up, we charge a base rate for setting up e-commerce without the products, because they're just all these little tiny things that we have to set up, which you see on this list. And then the products that, with it's manual unless you're importing a spreadsheet, really. So that can be time consuming. You can kind of get on a roll because after the first couple, where every piece of information goes in. You can also duplicate a product if it's similar and then just edit little pieces of it. So there's ways to make it faster. As far as the setup, I think the setup before the products, it's not super time consuming. I've seen people say they could do it in 30 minutes, which I disagree. But I think part of the reason I disagree is because they're not talking about figuring out like all of the different pieces of it. Like, what do I want to say in every email, or what, do I choose to have, where do I choose to sell? If you figure all that out ahead of time, you could set it up in, I don't know, a couple hours minimum.
Gathering the information ahead of time makes it faster too.
Right, correct. And it depends on how particular you are with how it looks. That's something we haven't talked about. Shopify and WooCommerce, they come with like a basic setup of what your product looks like on the page, like where different information goes on the page. And we've had customers that say, I don't like that setup. Can you change it? And it can be, it can take an hour, it can take several hours to make it perfect. And so that, if you're particular about how it looks, that's something you want to think about when you're going into the setup.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I've got another question here, which is what are the other directory review sites you'd recommend creating or updating our profiles on besides Yelp and Google?
Apple is another one. Bing. I mean, all the different web browsers have their local business profile section. If you're in a specific industry, if there's an antique, directory, like you add yourself to that. Amy, do you know any other specific ones?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like definitely service industries have different review sites.
Construction.
But as far as retail, what's really cool is if you're selling a product for a certain brand and they have, find me in stores, make sure you're in those, right? Like for certain brands that you sell, because people may be specifically looking for something exact, and then they're going to come buy from you locally or something. So those are important. If you're selling housewares, House, I love that website. You can actually sell through that. You can sell lamps and things through them, and they also have reviews, like your store reviews in there. So
Excellent.
that's what's coming to mind. Yeah.
There are a lot of different places to sell now, aren't there? There are a lot of different ways to sell your products.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you could build an e-commerce site and sell products you never touch. You can actually sell from, you can be an Amazon yourself and sell for different companies.
Yeah, be a drop ship.
Drop ship. Yep. That's it. Yeah.
So another question is, what are some of the biggest pitfalls that you've seen with e-commerce sites for business?
That's a good question. They've seemed to work for everyone that we've helped with.
Yeah, we haven't really had any security issues.
I'll chime in on that one, which is logistics on the back end. So after somebody has made a purchase, you've got them all the way through the sales funnel and they purchase something from you, store owner of whatever kind, you have to fulfill that order.
Yeah.
So your pitfalls are, if it's going drop ship and it's through Amazon, then you're good. But if you're taking items, packaging them up, putting them in a box, getting them to the post office, getting them shipped, then you have a supply chain that you need to consider on your end. And not having thought that through, you could get a bunch of orders out the gate really fast and then find yourself going, okay, I don't actually have somebody to fulfill these, and it's some really long nights at the store after the doors are closed, packing items to get them sent off to people and tracking that properly. So prior to getting started, you want to have your logistics in order of how will I fulfill orders? Where will I get my packing material? Who will handle that? When will they handle that? How often will I fulfill orders? You can't also, by the way, promise somebody, I'll ship you something within 48 hours and then not touch the order, not even see the email for 48 hours. Right. If there's only 3 to 7 staff members and everybody's busy already, you need to have thought through how you're going to take care of that. So that's my 2 cents from when I've helped other people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, how are we going to do this? So
yeah, and just starting out too with WooCommerce, like getting into the back end and like, claiming, like saying that order has been processed, saying it, it's shipped, making sure you remember how to use it, and that kind of thing. And, that the inventory is correct so that you're not selling things that you don't have. And then just getting the shipping right has been like with one customer we had, just getting the shipping figured out for like what size boxes and how much it weighs and what it's going to cost to sell. So do you weigh everything? She weighed her products so that then we could use this automatic system to tell us, what it was going to cost to ship and then charge the customer immediately. I think you can also estimate shipping and then charge the customer the exact shipping at a different time. So that can be done as well. So there's just different ways of configuring the system. And then we always, if we're using WooCommerce, we always take the customer and show them the back end and show them what to do. And they're always coming back, remind me how to do this, or, I got this order and it didn't come in my email. Now that has happened occasionally, and sometimes it's your email and your, your spam or your promotions folder or whatever. You just have to make sure you're on top of wherever that email is being sent or that notification is being sent, that you've got an order, that you're either looking or that you're receiving that information. You don't miss your orders, right?
Yep. All very, very important considerations there.
Yeah.
So,
Things to think about. Yeah.
so
Yeah. And then when I said, when I was talking about, make sure you get the photographs and the descriptions and everything of your products, do get the weight as well. And then with the packing material, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent. So switching gears a little, I've got another social media question. Going back to Facebook ads, I've tried doing this for a client because it's cheapest, like you said, but not a lot of results. Do you use LinkedIn? So talk a little bit about different ways that you might advertise and where you're getting your conversions.
That's a good question.
So we don't actually do, our company does not do ads. So we wanted to talk about that because people have really good results. We usually refer out to people that do ads, but Christine, go ahead and you can talk about what you know.
Well, I mean, when it comes to LinkedIn in general, it's important to be on there as a company, but the most important thing, at least for LinkedIn on a non-ad basis, is that your employers, anybody who works with the company, represents the company in an awesome way, right? With posting and just stays active that way. Not sure on the ad front. I mean, if there was no return on the Facebook ads, I would say look at the back end and make sure that all of the different, you can create a profile and have it narrow down to your actual audience. And so maybe it was too broad, or maybe it was the wrong audience. And things with ads in general, like what's the call to action, right? You want people to click on an ad, but then what? Just click on it, or is there something that's grabbing their attention to bring them back to their website to have them buy something? So, and when it comes to non-ads, also in Facebook, you can on your business page share coupons and do different posts regarding coupons and sales and different things too. So it's a lot of different variables to staying present, and not one single thing will be the answer. It's a collection of different, not tactics, but things that you do to increase your visibility online.
And we do have customers that are saying, well, I'm not getting many results from my social media, and not just the ads, but they don't have a lot of followers. So make sure you're collecting followers, right?
And it takes time.
Yeah.
And one way to collect followers is to follow other people.
Absolutely.
And then another way is to comment on people's posts and be thoughtful with your comments, not just great posts.
And that's the most important
will
thing, yeah.
drag people
Not
back
just
to
like,
you.
right? But comment. Yeah.
And then another thing, Tracy, to specify onto your question, just for the sake of the discussion and for everybody's information, if the business is a very business oriented business and LinkedIn is the place where their clients might be, you might see more results. And if it was something that really didn't jive with the business and professional community, you might see fewer results. So there's also to be in line with your audience, just like what they were talking about when you're making sure you have a profile somewhere within the antique group if you're antiques, and the restaurant group if you're restaurants, so that you're there in the space where your clients are going to be. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to use the platform that your customers are using, right? If they're really young, use TikTok, for example. Not that you yeah. And we didn't talk about Pinterest. If you're antiques, that or retail,
great.
You can advertise on Pinterest even. I've seen some cool stuff there. So it just depends on where your customers are.
Right.
Where
Start
they're
with
going.
one thing and build on that. Don't try to do everything at once, because you have to lay out.
If I'm gonna take this list apart in chunks, where do I start as the layperson?
I probably could have put it in a better order. Let's see. I'm going to look at my actual checklist over here. Well, I put some of the big stuff first. We love to look at people's websites. When I say analyze your website, Christine and I love to look at oh, what might be missing and what you need to, to make it a great website and make it ready for e-commerce, based on who's hosting even, where you're hosted. And so that, I think that's really important place to start. And then the shipping and the payments and point of sale, I find to be really big, in a bigger chunk. So I did put those first. And then the rest of them are kind of little questions. So often I add the privacy policy last, but that wouldn't be a bad place to start, because if you are using a lawyer or you need to research that, you could have that ready by the time the website's ready, that type of thing. And the fun part, time consuming, but taking all the photographs of your projects. You might want to start there if you're going to hire a photographer, so you can get that set up and ready to go, or get your booth where you're taking them set up. So, but that could be kind of a fun part of the project. And then most of that stuff are just little questions that I'm always asking my clients. So I really wanted to just have it all in one place, instead of just keep reaching out to the clients for what I need. And I thought that would be really helpful for someone who's doing their own website. So.
And after this is all done, have your friends and family and other people test it. I mean, ideally, have a fourth grader test it. If a fourth or fifth grader can maneuver the site, find what they need, and add a product, everybody can.
Christine has a fourth grader.
I have a fourth grader.
She's not selling him, but she uses him all the time.
It's not child labor, I swear.
Well, okay, so one final thing that's in the chat link here, this one's for you, Ryan, is we have a request to put the link to the other videos from previous, because we've referenced them a couple times. And by the way, our first one with Devin is how to create Facebook and Instagram ads, which dives into some of your whys and your call to action. And he also did a really great job. So that one's a worthy one to go back and view. So perhaps Ryan can throw us that link. He's nodding, says yes. And and Tracy also does say our kids are smarter than us. And I did want to point that out, that yes, they somehow or another know way more about tech than we do. So
totally, yeah.
Does anyone else have any more questions, comments, concerns, things they want to say? Oh, the lovely and talented Jan, who is always gracious, says the series is incredible and I appreciate it. Kudos to Christine and Amy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Our information, if you ever want to reach out with questions or want to send someone our way, this is us again.
Any questions, email us.
I appreciate your time, everybody. I apologize. I have another conference call at 1 o'clock, so got to go.
No problem, Dan. Thanks for coming.
No worries.
Here's an article real quick before we go about the 5 great components of a website, just as a little.
That's perfect to put up too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank yous all the way around from everyone. And there's the past webinars link as well. So we'll send that past webinars link out when we send out the next update with everybody, and give the links that were in this and the checklist. So
cool. Thanks for having us, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Most appreciated. We love having you guys, and we love your information. So thanks for gracing us with your presence.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Thank you, Christine and Amy.
You're welcome. Bye.